Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. I am joined today. I don't know when you're going to be hearing this. I think on Tuesday. Tuesday. There we go. By Andrew Claudio. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Good to hear you. Good to talk to you. Good to be here.
Yes, I've been seeing a lot of you, or I have seen a lot of you over the last 3 days before this one. And now here we are. The first time we were seeing each other on a remote setup in a while. And that's because we've been at Fanatics Fest together for the entire weekend, which we're going to talk a little bit about right now. How are you? It was quite a weekend, was it not?
A lot of steps, I'll say that. A lot of carrying heavy equipment bags, which is part of the gig. And all that aside, this was a thrilling weekend for me, a thrilling weekend, I think, for our entire staff. Thank you to our entire crew that made their way to the Javits Center to be part of this. I just need to personally extend a thank you to the fine folks over at Fanatics and then the Sportsbook, to Jared and Andy, to gigantic Knicks Film School listeners, as well as to gigantic Knicks fans who made all of this possible. We cast a big net as far as interviews and people we wanted to get a chance to talk to, and we got 2 of them, so we'll take it. Thank you to Evan Roberts and Ariel Helwani, which you will hear coming up. Hopefully you've checked it out on the YouTube channel already, but you're listening on the podcast feed. Hopefully you get to you'll enjoy those 2 conversations that John was able to have. And yeah, look forward to next year. And just I'll pass it back to you after this. The people that came up to us throughout the weekend that were Knicks Film School fans. That's pretty surreal that we're surrounded by all these different actual celebrities. And then you come up to us and make us feel like we're somewhat important and that we've helped you through a long commute or a workout, or just how much you listen to the pod or appreciate what we do. We appreciate you for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you all next year.
Since we're doing shout outs, I want to give a quick one to my guy Brendan at the Cobble Hill Theater, who was kind enough yesterday on Sunday to treat me and my daughter to a showing of 28 Years Later. And I got to tell you, that is quite a movie. And I will leave it at that. It was I enjoyed it very much. It was very good.
Sass is 8, 7.
She's going to be 9 in September.
Oh, so she's 8, going to be 9. Yeah. So you took an 8-year-old to see 28 Years Later.
I mean, she already saw 28 Weeks Later.
Oh, this is like a thing. She's like okay with the horror movies. And
I mean, we've done Texas Chainsaw. We've done a few other zombie movies. We did a few of the Romeros. We did, what else have we done? We did The Shining recently. Trying to think what else. We're ticking them off. That's what she wants to watch. She likes watching horror movies.
And you're facilitating that, which is awesome. So shout out to you.
I'm here to, open whatever doors that she wants to walk through.
Not to completely redirect from Parent Corner, but we were in the room at Fanatics Fest when Kevin Durant, and it was announced that he was traded to the Houston Rockets. John put out a video on his on his Twitter account of our reaction to the thing. It didn't even click for me because people who weren't there don't know this. There was a moment that could have potentially given away that a trade was about to happen, and you picked up on it when they were doing the rapid fire. So if you want to go into detail of what happened, by all means, please do. They were doing a rapid fire, Taylor Rooks and Kevin Durant, at the end of this panel. And she asked a question during the rapid fire questions, and then like a minute later, Kevin Durant got traded to the Rockets. So what was that question, John?
The question was, what player would you want to play with who you never have gotten a chance to play with? And it was, I forget, I don't think I actually got that on video, but the phrasing was pretty clearly, present day player. And so he said his answer was Hakeem Olajuwon. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I would have always liked to have played with a Hall of Fame big man. I actually didn't even stop to think about if he's ever actually played with anybody who could potentially be a Hall of Fame big man. But no,
it's Draymond, and that's it. If you want to count,
who's not a big man.
Right.
But so yeah, when he said Akeem, it was like, oh, that's interesting. And then literally about a minute later, the trade was announced. I mean, look, I watched the video on my Twitter feed in which we kind of go through the trade. We'll talk about it a little now, but like I said then, and I'll even double down now, I think the whole thing was orchestrated. I think he knew the trade was done before he sat down in that chair. My only wondering is like, how long has that been a done deal to Houston?
From doing a little digging, it felt like yesterday was going to be the day. And ever in control of his own narrative, Kevin Durant decided to do his friend Michael Rubin, who is our friend too. Yeah. I'm glad you did it, Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
Which to add more context to this panel, it was a noon episode of The Boardroom. Kevin Durant and Rich Kleinman's project, their version of The Shop, right? And it was about being global icons. And so the panel originally started with Michael Rubin on stage with Kevin Durant, with Taylor Rooks, and apologies, soccer owner.
The majority owner of a football club in Paris, which is they've won. All I know is they won something because they were like, now we have a fifth guest that we're going to introduce, and they brought out a big ass silver trophy that apparently this football team won. And the key here is that Kevin Durant recently bought a stake in this Paris football team. So I guess that was the connection there between KD and the other guy whose name I don't remember either.
Right. So the panel was supposed to just be supposed to be about all four of them, or I guess all three of them and trophy.
Well, so we're really diving into this because all the panels from the weekend, as far as I could tell, whoever were the announced guests on the panel were there for the entirety of the panel, right?
Right. The Yankee one we went to had all the Yankees there. Yeah.
So Taylor, when she introduced everybody one by one, and by the way, the owner of the Paris football guy was last. It was Rubin, then KD, then the
poor guy. Team. The applause for KD that happened, and then also here's soccer guy, and a polite golf clap for said soccer guy.
She said as soon as all four of them were seated, or shortly after all four of them were seated, she's like, so this is going to be two segments. We're going to start by talking about the business of sports, and then we're going to focus on basketball talk or go inside the mind of one of the greatest basketball players who ever lived with Kevin Durant. And so it was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then after about 15, 20 minutes of bullshitting about whatever with Rubin and the other guy and KD, she's like, all right, Mike and other guy, see you later.
Literally, yeah.
Like
the crew came up on stage, removed two of the chairs,
yes,
and then Michael Rubin and soccer guy and soccer trophy all left, and then it became an interview, a one-on-one with Kevin Durant and Taylor Rooks.
The interesting thing, and if you wanted to make the counter argument that he obviously knew. There's no way that he found out on stage that he had been traded, but like his reaction was not the reaction I personally would have expected to see from someone who had just learned the news, unless he was just trying to do his best acting job, in which case, good job by him. Because
I think the more I've processed both your video and my video of what went out yesterday and looked through it and seen his reaction again, there are a lot of indicators that potentially there was some orchestration, to your point. The fact that Michael was involved with it. Now next year when we're promoting Fanatics Fest, we can add the tagline, you never know what'll happen at Fanatics Fest. Well, your favorite player could get traded live on stage, and that
we won't be the only ones adding that tagline, I'm sure.
Well, I'm positive Fanatics Fest will now be, it's great marketing, so bravo to them. You add in the fact that Taylor Rooks never looked down at her phone, looked down, like, if you heard the video, everybody was just yelling, you got traded. I don't know if anybody actually... No, she seems so ready with the line, he just got traded to the Houston Rockets, as if, oh, this is my line. Like, this is what we're going to say when it officially drops.
You're forgetting another important piece of context.
What?
She said, I forget when she said it, but at some point before the interview started, she said, I'm going to leave my phone right here next to me in case we get some news, and, like, very clearly implying in case Kevin, like, again, the whole thing was set up. The whole thing was set up.
And it was a phone she never looked at when said news happened, which is why, look, bravo. It was great theater. I was riveted. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like actually happening while we're in the building and here for it. And I think the KD stands that I did not know existed until that day were pretty riveted by it too. Did you not hear? Oh no, it was smaller than the day before the shop. Like,
okay.
The day before compared to, you went to the shop the day before with LeBron and Wemby and that asshole from Fox that used to play for the Patriots. You went to that, and that was a madhouse. Compared to that, and even compared to the Yankee panel we went to with all the Yankees that I grew up hating and A-Rod, like, this was a polite gathering. But when Kevin Durant took the stage and I saw all of these KD stands that I did not know exist get up and yell, "You're my favorite player, KD," and I just was like, oh, I did not know he had a following. And that's because we come from the world of, you're fans of teams, and then as a result are fans of players. Like, I'm a Jalen Brunson fan because I'm a Knicks fan. Kevin Durant doesn't have a team to go back to be like, yes, they all support me.
Andrew,
and apparently this is just a blind spot of mine.
There were definitely some loud people in there when Taylor was pandering to the crowd to try to get people to, like, show their support for Durant. I compared, because you did not go to the LeBron thing. I went to the LeBron thing. I compared the LeBron thing to the only other thing I've ever experienced like that, as far as support for an athlete, was going to watch Tiger Woods play golf in his prime. And I was lucky enough to go follow him around the course for probably 3 or 4 majors when he was, like, really at the top of his peak of his powers. It's the only thing I've ever seen that was comparable to the support that LeBron got during his session. I would not even say that the level of Durant support was like Mickelson to LeBron's Tiger. It was like David Duval to LeBron's Tiger, or Ernie Els to LeBron's Tiger. It was like a couple levels down. To
those of you that watch golf and understood that reference, good on you, because I know Tiger.
Okay, you know who Phil Mickelson is, right?
Yes.
Okay, but you didn't know who the other guys were.
He's lefty. I know who the other guys are. I wouldn't know what they are in comparison. Like, is this like if Deuce had a panel or something, and compared to, like, the Brunson panels that are up there?
No, Deuce would be like in New York.
Who was there, by the way? District Bride was there. I saw people posting pictures of them getting their photos or their autograph with Deuce. I know Cat made an appearance. I heard the entourages that were making their way through the crowds. This very crowded Javits Center made for a very hilarious sighting, because you just suddenly saw a crowd of people throughout the weekend. And it's like, oh, well, I need to get around this, but I'll wait. And then you see, it's like, oh, it's like random WWE wrestler and one of the Paul brothers, who I'm still curious what their talent is, and random streamer that I've never heard of, but then also LeBron James. And it's like the levels to which the celebrity ranged were incredible throughout the week.
I learned I guess I didn't learn who he is, because I can't remember his name. Who's the 23-year-old fellow who was up there with LeBron?
Oh, Cannot.
There it is. I learned who that was.
Kaya Sanat. What is his name? I shouldn't give away PlayStations in Times Square. Is that his name?
I don't know. Well,
yeah. And then there's I learned what a Kaya Sanat was this weekend too, and as well as an iShow Speed. But yeah, we had fun this weekend, and thank you to the fine folks over at Fanatics. We should mention, by the way, if you haven't checked out our Instagram or our Twitter accounts, Benjy got buckets. Benjy went and did a shootout contest and won. People were welcomed to the joy that is watching Benjy Ritholtz take jump shots. And he won a Devin Booker Funko Pop, but more than anything, he won the satisfaction of being a hooper that all of you are afraid of, which is why you scheduled Knicks Twitter Day on a Saturday so he can't participate.
Yes. Very, very sorry I have to miss Knicks Twitter Day.
Yes. Speaking of security.
I want to say I feel even more not offended, but like it's not offended by the return because that implies that Phoenix did a shitty job. And if you believe the reports of what other teams were offering, it is very clear that there was no real market here. Given where Kevin Durant very clearly wanted to play and did not want to play. So I can't even kill them too much. Although I remember once upon a time, not long ago, when a certain New York Knicks player who had a literal no trade clause was being shopped around and there was some issues there. Scott Perry did take it all the way up to September because he just didn't like the deals he was getting. There was no rule that said the Suns had to have the 10th pick in this draft, and they had to complete the trade this week. Like July, August, September, like there was a lot of time for this thing and they clearly had no appetite for that. Putting that aside, it is just astounding franchise mismanagement. That's the only thing I wanted to add. I don't know if I went hard enough on it in my original comments. It truly astounding franchise mismanagement across the board, up and down, every which way. It's just, what else do you say? I can't say anything else.
Who's now in charge in Phoenix? I know they got a new coach.
Isaiah Thomas.
So if it is Isaiah Thomas, is James? No, Jones, he got replaced, right? James Jones got replaced.
There is a head of basketball operations whose name is escaping. Maybe it's the Paris football guy. Maybe he's actually the head of basketball operations.
If you told me, then that makes yesterday seem even more orchestrated.
There you go.
I think to your point about the mismanagement, it's an Ishbia term thing. Pretty much since he took over, it is a pure mismanagement. I'm trying to judge it by the vacuum of like since this new regime and this new head coach took over. And that's what I'm trying to do across the board since Ishbia took over. And then a week later, they trade 4 picks and Mikal Bridges for Kevin Durant, and Cam Johnson as well. Like that, you were never going to be able to recoup the same value. I'm trying my best to just judge it by the return here, which I think for what Kevin Durant is at this point in his career, I especially compared to what the other offers seem to have been, I don't hate it, but I do recognize compared to what they gave up for him, it's a tough sell to your fan base to be like, we traded our entire future for this guy, and now this is what we get back. We get the very immediate present.
Andrew, if this is the return, you don't trade Kevin Durant today. You wait until tomorrow and see if there's a better. I'm sorry. I feel very strongly about this because you have not improved your team's future in any meaningful. Yeah. Is there?
Were you going to be able to though? Were you going to be able to?
How?
No, I'm asking. Were you going to be able to improve your team's future with Kevin Durant?
If you're trading Kevin Durant today, you have to be able to say, we have given our team some future thing to be excited. I don't care if it's a fucking 2031 pick swap that has a chance to be something. Now, you could argue, all right, the 10th pick in this draft is probably better than that. But that's fair. But like,
you can also trade the 10th pick in the draft for like a pick swap and something else if somebody wants to trade in. Brock Aller taught us this.
You did not get a blue chip future asset and you did not get a blue chip present asset. You mentioned Cam Johnson before. I would argue that Cam Johnson today has more value than the return that they got for Kevin Durant. I'm just saying what is today? It's the season isn't even over yet. They made the trade on the day of Game 7. You didn't have to trade him today. They clearly wanted the 10th pick. So
I think what you're not factoring in is Kevin Durant's involvement in this. They probably could have gotten more from Minnesota, and he didn't want to go there. They probably could have gotten more from Golden State at the deadline. He didn't want to go there. He went to where he wanted to go, and they facilitated.
Why did that change needing to do it now, as opposed to I've been critical of Leon Rose over the here and there recently. It's very clearly they always wanted Karl-Anthony Towns last summer. They waited until literally the Friday before the Monday where trading camp was going to open to make that trade. Why? Because they were trying like hell they were hoping that Minnesota was going to turn around and say, all right, you know what? Fine. We'll do it without Dante. Granted, Leon blinked and included Dante in the deal, but he waited until September, whatever, to do that. Again, it's June. It's June. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Is there a chance you value Kevin Durant higher than the league does, though? You wanted to trade Cat for him. Like
when he was healthy, he was one of the 10 best players in the game last year.
And you're able to say with confidence that when he is healthy is the majority of the time now at 37 years old, being years removed now from a torn Achilles.
Even if he plays 60 games this year, and he plays those 60 games at the level of a top 20 player, because of what he is and because of how much he just is so versatile and can help your team in so many different ways. I just like it's a Jalen Green who's, I don't even know if I would, if you like the Knicks are probably not a great example, but like, because to get to that salary, you would have to do Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, right? If you said today, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, or Jalen Green, I'm not even thinking twice about it. You know, I'm keeping the guys that I have. If you went to pretty much any contending team and said, pick the $30+ million on your roster that you would most want to get rid of, and you could have Jalen Green, I think most, if not all, would say, no, we'll keep what we have. Thanks. You know, so that's not an asset to me. And then Dillon Brooks is a really nice player. And the 10th pick in the draft, like you said, yes, it's a good asset. I don't know. I might be overreacting.
It's not so much that you're overreacting. You're reacting how you want to react. You have the freedom to do that. I just don't think the league values Kevin Durant or views Kevin Durant the way you value Kevin Durant. So as a result,
and they know better than me.
So as a result, you have to go by what the league values. Like I could think Kevin Durant is worth 2 first-round picks, and if the league's like, we'll give you a current first-round pick and then a young player that ends up being salary filler that you can take a flyer on, and Dillon Brooks, who may be a contributing rotation piece that you're either trading at the deadline or helps you get out of the play-in. Like I agree that it's weird to see this be Kevin Durant's return, but I recognize he's a month younger than me and I'm washed. So how much more does he potentially have? What's up? And there's real quick, there's also the fact that you're going to need to give him an extension.
That's exactly where I was going. The reason why the money part of it, because if you trade for Kevin Durant, immediately you're between a rock and a hard place. Either you let him walk after a year, in which case that's not a great option. Mm-hmm. You sign him to this 2-year extension, which I don't know that there's anybody in the league who wants to do that, including Houston, which is why it's very interesting to see where they go there. Or you trade for him and then kick the can down the road a year, and maybe it's a sign and trade, maybe it's something else, but you don't want to sign up for that. So essentially, if you're trading for him, you are signing up for 2 more years at $120 million for his age 38 and 39 seasons. I understand that is a harrowing thought. So, which is why I came at this from the angle of like, I can't even kill the Suns too much for this trade. All that being said, there was at least one other genuinely interested party. I think the Heat were really interested. Now, maybe you want to believe the report from the Phoenix guy.
Yeah. there was like nobody. They were like, it's Andrew Wiggins, salary filler, and the pick this year, and that's it.
Pat Riley's how old?
100.
Great.
It's closer to that than what number I would have guessed.
I think if you kept this going for longer, you would have either gotten, whether it was Jabari Smith Jr., whether it was whatever pick the Heat didn't want to include, if it's Jovic they didn't want to include, maybe you end up with like if you kept this going, you could have gotten something else, because all you need is multiple interested parties, and there were multiple interested parties here. So to do this trade now for the return that you got back, you cannot sit here and convince me that this is the absolute best they could have done, it, even with all of the constraints. And I'm acknowledging extraordinarily real constraints here. Extraordinarily real constraints.
I think the league dictated what his value was, and they just wanted this headache to go away at the beginning of a new regime. They're probably going to buy out Bradley Beal.
That's it. They wanted the headache to go away. They wanted the headache to go away.
I don't think that's the worst process at the beginning of a new regime. And now you get to build around Devin Booker with, now the Devin Booker part of this is unbelievably fascinating. The like loyalty, Dame showed us the playbook for loyalty and where it gets you. I think if you're trying to recoup the value that you lost in giving up Kevin Durant, it's a Devin Booker trade. But I don't know, like the 10th pick in the draft could be Carter Bryant. It could be Derek Queen. It could be, I'm trying to go through Vicini's mock draft at this point. And Colin Murray Boyles, like you could probably get a player at 10, or you could trade down. And if you want to get 2 rotation players, the Nets have so many picks in the first round this year. Here, give us 10. We'll give you 10. Give us, what do they have? They have the Knicks pick at 19, and they have 19, 26, and 27. Give us 2 picks, and we'll add 2 young rotation pieces as we're trying to get further and further away from these aprons. Like, they can now get creative because they're back in this draft, and that's probably how this team wants to do business. I'm trying to judge it by the vacuum of this one specific thing. We have a disgruntled superstar that wants nothing to do with our organization, and everybody that, potentially would trade for him and sign him to an extension, he doesn't want to go to. Like, he had the power here. Player empowerment was alive and well, as your friend Brian Windhorst said yesterday. It's just the reality of it, John.
Look, I think we're both right. I think you're probably more right than me. I think
there's a Kevin Durant thing that, like, how you view him, that I think is why it's like that's all Kevin Durant went for.
It's not as. I promise you that's not it. It's a little bit of it, because I do think the guy's still really good, but I'm not. You know me. I'm not like some Kevin Durant stan. Like I
basketball wise, I think you are. I think you are like. John, we are not more than a couple weeks away from, I would consider doing cat for Kevin Durant. And clearly, you probably could have done like Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson and other salary and the swaps from, or the Washington pick, which is going to be 2 second-round picks. Then now they can keep that and go trade for Jason Kidd.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to do a whole thing on the state of the East, because we're running long on time, and that deserves its own podcast.
But we'll have guests later this week that you can do that conversation with.
I will say briefly, I don't think the Halliburton injury would have, like, if Leon Rose knew that Tyrese Halliburton was going to tear his Achilles, would he have done anything differently regarding the Durant sweepstakes, to the extent there was one? I think the answer is no. I think if you wanted to make the argument that the Halliburton injury, if Leon Rose knew about it, would have made him more likely to at least consider a Durant trade, I would absolutely be here for that argument, because let me finish. The biggest, to me, the biggest reason not to do the Kevin Durant trade is all the things we just talked about. 37 years old, $120 million extension that you kind of need to give him. unless he's going to be amenable to taking a few $1 million less. And so you are very much putting all of your eggs in really next season's basket. Well, guess what? After next season, and I shout out to, I have a new mailbag coming for the newsletter on Tuesday. And somebody asked me a question that I'm stealing from their question. Shout out, you know who you are, and I don't have your name handy right now, but this is not my original thought. Basically, like, if the Knicks don't win it next year, what's going to be the conversation? Well, shit. Now, Tatum's coming back, and Halliburton's coming back, and if you want to consider Dame in that, okay. And here's Orlando, another year of seasoning, and Detroit with another year of seasoning, and God knows who else with another year of seasoning. I'm not saying the Knicks have to win a title next year, otherwise they're screwed. But if you wanted to take a more present tense view of this thing and be like, well, shit, now we have that team out of the way, talking about the Pacers, like, you're telling me a Knicks team built like with Kevin Durant, like, and you still have Mitchell Robinson, you go out, you sign another, like a traditional 5 on the mid-level. You tell me that team couldn't win the East?
I'm telling you the team right now could win the East.
Okay, and you know what this really reflects on? I'm lower on the Knicks roster than you are.
Oh, clearly. You've made it very clear. Yeah. It's you. And where was that sentence going? Most people here at Knicks Film School.
I think most people here at Knicks Film School agree with you.
I think they were 2 wins away from winning the East this year. And like, they might get to play for a coach that they like outside of 2 people that host a podcast going forward. I know that irks you.
I hope that goes a long way.
I know, John, that I actually have no idea what you hope going into next season, but I personally,
I hope they win 82 games.
Yes, you hope they win 82 and then lose in the first round, and you could say, "Oh, look, you didn't get as far as you did with Tibbs." I personally,
that's not true.
I know you want them to win a title more than anything. If Satan was coaching the team, you'd want them still to win a title, right? And some might argue that Satan is no longer coaching the team. I personally think, as constructed, the roster is good enough to win the East. Factoring in, to your point, no Tatum, no Halliburton in the East next year, which is why the ideas that they need to upgrade the roster, and the way you upgrade the roster is around an injury-prone Kevin Durant going into age 37, scares me. So I'm fine with this current roster. And look, the Mitchell Robinson of it all, I love Mitch. I'm so glad that he got to have the season that he just had, the postseason that he just had. There's an 82 game regular season that I don't think he can play more than 25 games in at this point in his career. Maybe he'll prove me wrong this year. Maybe the new medical staff gets a hold of him and they're awesome. But yeah, I agree with you that next year's the year, but I also recognize, like, as is, I think they could win the East, and some little adjustments around the edges that you collect data during the season and potentially upgrade, you'll be fine. You don't need to make this wholesale change, which, to your point, you believe they do need to make wholesale changes, which we'll just have to see what happens when they play it out, because I don't think they're going to make any wholesale changes.
Well, they're not. They're not. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. I have my doubts. I'm obviously, I hope I'm wrong. But I'm more optimistic very clearly than you are. I think the current roster was 2 wins away from the finals and was a bounce away from potentially getting there anyway with said head coach, who's really good. And I think they're going to hire another really good head coach that gives it a different look. And now there won't be Indiana on the heater of all heaters, or the Celtics that you have to go through. They're going to be really good next year. And potentially, like, with another year of playing together, that could just internally get better. And, that leads to them maybe coming at it from a 1 seed or a 2 seed rather than a 3 seed. Yep. We can hope.
We hope.
All right. On that note, so what's following now?
An ad break.
An ad break. All right. Stay tuned for more Knicks Film School content right after this.